questions about water, W-A-T-E-R. I believe that when people suffer from things like Alzheimer's and dementia and senility, that it's similar to a stream drying up in which the life energy of the stream dissipates and the plants die and the animals fly or run away. You once said that if you were standing in our physical shoes, and I love you very much, but you know it's coming, that if you were standing in our physical shoes, you would drink a ton of water. And of course, that's 2,000 pounds of water. So that was a very facetious, the only facetious answer I think I've ever heard, and I'd like some clarification on it. Hopefully in the form of a functionality of, say, body weight to cups of water, you know, some sort of scenario.
That's an important thing, isn't it?
I think it's vitally important.
As we are listening to the conversation about what age the vaccine should be offered to people, and we are saying to Esther, they should be evaluating by body weight, not by body age.
Well, that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
Can you more definitively clarify
we can.
The functionality of water to our body weight, perhaps, or to our age? Or?
The reason that water is so important, and you know this, and this isn't exactly what you're asking right now, but we're going to start here. You are mostly water. You are water.
We're told 75%. The American Indians thought it was 90%. So I'm sure
it is closer to 90. You are mostly water. Now we want to talk about energy or vibration, and the stream on which the energy there flows is mostly through the waterways of your physical apparatus. And so
that's my second question.
That's the reason for all of that. And like everything that you've been hearing for us for all of these 35 years, we say to you, when you think a thought and then have an emotion and then have results, it's always a match. What you think and how you feel and what happens always matches. So the best thing for each individual to do is to set the intention for optimum well-being and then make a decision and follow through with the decision and see how their physical apparatus feels. The reason that we right now are not going to say this many pounds, this much water, or this many years, this much water, is because it's the resistance factor, again, that is the most important factor. And so if you have an aversion to anything that we're encouraging, now it's not going to work well for you. We want each of you to define what's best for you relative to this and relative to everything else. And your body will show you in very short order. What happens with so many of you, Esther learned this from her brilliant IT guy, Mark. You know Mark? Yeah. Mark keeps everything going back on the ranch in Texas and out here on the road. In other words, he is the collaborator with Esther on concept, but he is the facilitator in bringing to fruition what they decide they want to accomplish. And what Jerry always said about Mark is that Mark can always figure it out. If he doesn't know it right now, he will figure it out. If you stay focused upon what you want, he will figure it out. Well, one of the wise things that Mark taught Esther so many years ago when they first came together is we're only going to introduce one new thing to our computer system at a time. If we buy new hardware and we upgrade the software and we apply 2 or 3 different applications, when things go nuts, we don't know why. So let's introduce one thing at a time and see how that thing that we have introduced affects what we've already got going. The thing about humans is that you're all the time introducing so many different things all at once. You buy an energy drink, you read the label, it doesn't mean anything to you really because it's written in that.
Well, not me, I don't.
We're just saying. And you're introducing so many things to your body all at the same time that you don't know what's affecting you in which way or that. And so water, even water varies where it's coming from and what its content is. So it takes a little bit of time for you to introduce this one subject of diverse water into your experience, and then to adjust the quantity of it before you can establish how your body is doing with it. And most people are not patient enough to ever discover their own true physical formula. But your inner being, who is in constant communication with every cell of your body, knows precisely how much and when and what kind. And so that's why once you're trending, because you're choosing thoughts on all subjects, not just the subject of water, you're trending in the direction of who you are, so you've established this really good path of least resistance, then you can do what you were born to do, which is to follow the impulse of your body. That's what thirst is. Thirst is your body saying, want some of that. Craving is your body saying, would like some of that. But most humans are calibrating to other humans and to other writings and to what this one says and this one says. We're surprised that any of you can find anything to eat, because someone has written a great deal of information about why you should not ever do that, or why you should do that in great moderation, where you have within you an inner being that you can trust.
And along those lines, I often will bless my food, bless my water before I drink it. I don't know if that's of any significance.
Well, it's not of significance to the food or the water, because none of that is waiting around to be blessed. It already feels worthy. But anything you do that has intentionality in it improves your receptivity. That's the benefit of that.
And we're told that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only go from potential to kinetic. My question is water eternal? Can it be created? Can it be destroyed? I did some research. Wikipedia said it's 24 billion years old. I don't think the Earth is that old. And it's never changed since the beginning of time, I guess.
Are you saying that it's one of those
eternal things?
Simple combinations of not that many things?
Well, I could connect 2 tanks of hydrogen and 1 tank of oxygen and put them in a hose. I'd still get a gas. I asked a Chinese Taoist teacher, master, whether it could happen. And through the translation, I finally learned that what he said was that when lightning strikes the ocean, water is created. And I didn't find that to be a truth. So
it isn't.
It isn't. No, I didn't think it was. But I can only think that
But it'd
water,
be fun to calibrate to that for a while, wouldn't it?
How can I destroy water if it just keeps changing form? How can I destroy water or create it?
When you think about what it is, what the chemistry geniuses identify it is, the thing about it is that it is always in a container, and it takes on the properties of the container. That's why water varies so much in terms of its other attributes, its minerals and so on. Everything's that way, sort of an evolution. There is nothing that is in its simplest form. So the best way we can answer your question is to say anything that is eternal, and we will say that water is, in order to be eternal, must, like everything else, be subject to constant change and evolution.
Yes, the ever-changing moment of now.
Yeah.
Or the ever-changing moment.
Yeah. And knowing law of attraction as you're coming to know it, isn't it therefore logical that it would change to meet the intentionality of those who are consuming it? And we don't just mean humans. In other words, ask and it is given. And so think about everything that is benefiting by the water. This is an interesting subject, because as we began, we were describing to you that you are that. You are water. Now we're talking about, would it be possible to separate the intentionality of the you that is this thinking mind that we are communicating with here from the part of you that is the water that we are also communicating with?
And that goes to my third question.
We thought it might.
Thought, and of course vibration, frequency. I often think of there being a thinker of my thought, but I've come to start to question whether water thinks, whether water has a consciousness.
It is.
If I'm 75% water, or if I make a pie and it's 75% apples, I'd call it an apple pie. But I'm thinking of myself now as thinking water. Or at least the transmission of thought is through the water of my body.
Every thought that is thought then begins to think. The easiest way to contemplate that is by changing the word thought to vibration, or changing the word vibration to thought. Esther has a limited vocabulary in the way that she describes things like that, and so vibration or thought are about as far as she is interpreting into that. But you're right about that when you think a thought, the thought thinks, and water is vibrating and responding by law of attraction and transmitting. Everything is. But here may be what you're looking for. Water, in its simplicity, is more like a human who is tuned in, tapped in, turned on. The water part of you is part of what makes it so easy for you to connect with the path of least resistance. So let's make this statement that we've not made before. When we say to you that you are pure positive energy, and that your true nature, that your absolute nature is one of upliftment, upper end of the emotional scale, love, not hate. So the water that you are predominantly made from is not the reason for your alignment, but it is a carrier of alignment much more than it is a carrier of misalignment. You're made up of arguments about how much of you. You're made up 90% of water that is never resistant in thought. The components of your body, some of them can be more resistant in thought. And that's when people come up with words like toxic. Water is not one of those things.
So it is not the water thinking. My thought does not come from the water, but can flow through the water, just as a shark can feel my fear in the water a mile away. It's flowing that frequency of erratic fear through the water. No?
Yes.
Okay.
But hard to explain in those ways. Think of unseen ethers as this non-liquid soup through which vibrations can flow. Einstein was so hard after understanding that. On the verge of understanding the law of attraction and how it moves through all of this. And so the ethers is to thought as the water of your body is to thought. In other words, you can compare them in that way. Everything that you describe in physical terms, that you want to call manifested in physical terms, is vibration that you are interpreting in see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it ways. And so let's, just for sake of simplicity, and because it would take longer than any of us have to really give this a thorough discussion, let's just say that the water of your body is like the ether of the universe. It's the neutral current on which thought can flow. And it really is the part of you that, from this discussion and from our perspective, is what makes health dominant. Let's just put it that way.
And you I'm paraphrasing certainly, but you said that the flow of thought is life. And I think it was Kansas City in 98 or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, maybe I'm saying it wrong. But when you said flow, I thought water. The flow of thought through water is life, is what I interpreted it.
Well,
so if I've misinterpreted, please correct me.
It doesn't make any difference whether you're talking about water, whether you're talking about thought, or whether you're talking about ethers, or whether you're talking about riverbeds. The flow is a focus, and the trending is because there has been a thought that has gone before, and the more thoughts you think, the more riverbeds you lay, and the more direction that you deliberately give to whatever and so forth. So as far as we are concerned, always, it is deliberate thought that is the deliciousness of life.